faster than a speeding bullet, more powerful than a locomotive, able to leap tall buildings at a single bound. The infant of Krypton is now the man of steel, Superman!
Hey there kids, welcome back. David from Atomic Candy, and right now I am open by chance, and what I am opening up with for you here today is the Mezco 1/12 Collective Red Sun Superman. Red Sun, of course, being a miniseries that premiered in 2003, three-issue miniseries with an alternate reality Superman, a sort of a what-if Superman, and in this case it was what if Superman landed in Soviet Russia instead of Smallville. Interesting storyline concept, and as you can see, this one is a PX Previews exclusive, and this one comes in a tin rather than a box, which, not sure how I feel about that. Minor thing with it being the tin, but the tin does stand out more. I keep all the boxes, and this is Michael Myers from Halloween, and as you can see, the traditional Mezco box is not nearly as wide and is a little taller than the tin is, although the width of both of them, or the depth rather, is pretty much the same. One thing also that bothers me about the tins is damage is more prominent on them. Like there's a little ding in the corner right there. You might not have noticed if I didn't point it out, but there are some nicks on this tin, and you'll spot those before you see them on the cardboard unless it's really bad. Now let's get it out of the bag. This is already opened because this one is second hand. I got this from someone who bought it and then decided they didn't want it. Traded for it, which is how I get most of these actually. But yeah, you can see there's a dent there, small dent there. There's like a dent in every corner, and it's not something you can really fix. There's a couple of nicks there. I'm not too worried about it because I really wanted this figure anyways, and that doesn't affect the value too much either, I don't think. Not in this case, because I'm primarily an in-the-box collector, so I really like for there to be a good condition box. But since Mezco 1/12 Collective figures are designed in such a way that you can open it and reseal it, I'm not uncomfortable with a couple of minor dings in the box, which is why I don't have a problem with opening these up to show them to you. Another thing with these tins is that they are hinged, so you can't just slide it out like with the cardboard boxes. See, it says Superman, Red Sun, and there's the hinge. Nothing on the inside. There's no artwork. Usually there's artwork on the inside flaps when there is a flap with Mezco 1/12 Collective figures, but not with this one. So we swing that open, and we've got some paper here covering it up instead of a piece of plastic like you would normally see with the boxed versions. And here's our Red Sun Superman inside here. Can't see him too well yet because of the glare, but we are going to get him out of there. We're going to free Superman. So we'll put this tin aside for the moment. The tin that my wife, the lovely Miss Lady Pop Hunter, has jokingly said that she's going to swipe from me when I'm not looking. I seriously doubt that though. There's our Superman again. Good utilization of the package space, because one thing I've noticed about these also is if there aren't a lot of accessories, which there are not here, it leaves a lot of vacant space. Now we'll lift off the tray, because as you know there's a tray underneath, and in the bottom half of the tray got the Mezco 1/12 Collective Ziploc bag, the stand with the hammer and sickle, classic imagery of the former Soviet Union, the arm for the stand to put him in flying and other dynamic poses, and another accessory which is for these pieces, which are cables, and I'll explain what those are for here in a minute. On this side, and I'll go ahead and I'll take this tray off very quickly and then remove the plastic sheet. This sheet, of course, is to protect the flag. And there's another little sheet covering his face here. I won't tip it too far forward because I don't want the hands to fall out. Got 6 hands, Brainiac's head, a Soviet flag, and the Red Sun Superman. Timeline on the story takes place between 1953 and 2001. 1953 and 2001. And what we're going to do here next is go ahead and get him out of there and get him on the stand and see how he looks.
To best be in a position to use his amazing powers in a never-ending battle for true justice, Superman has assumed the skies of Clark Kent, mild-mannered reporter for a great metropolitan newspaper.
And we are back with our Soviet-era version of Superman Elsewhere's alternate reality what-if version, if you will. And in this what-if version, instead of being the symbol of truth, justice, in the American way, he is the symbol of something completely different. As the Soviet government would say, the champion of the common worker who fights a never-ending battle for Stalin socialism and the international expansion of, what else? The Warsaw Pact. Very much propaganda. And this character has a very Soviet-era Russia propaganda look to him, if you're familiar with the Cold War images that were used in Soviet government propaganda. The uniform and even the way that his face is colored, and his face is colored, if you can see that clearly, fits perfectly with that image. He really does look like Soviet-era propaganda. So that's very well designed. Very well designed. This, of course, is a writing. Red Sun was written by Mark Miller. And it's not as original an idea as you might think. Let me pull his cape back so you can look behind him here. Not as original as you might think. And even Mark Miller has admitted that he based the concept of this on an issue of Superman 300, which, if I'm not mistaken, was 1976, in which Kal-El's rocket landed in the ocean instead of Smallville, and the Russian and American navies were in a race to get to the rocket first, and Superman, or Kal-El, was found and discovered to have fantastic powers. And of course the American government used him to their advantage and named him Skyboy. Skyboy rather than Superman. If you thought the name Superman was lame, Skyboy is even worse. So let's take a look at some of these accessories. Here you have Brainiac's head. Brainiac is in this series, as well as Lex Luthor, Batman, Green Lantern and the Green Lantern Corps, Wonder Woman. I like the head, actually. I think they did a good job on the head. It's heavy too. It's a nice piece. He's got a flag, a Soviet-era flag with the hammer and sickle. These cables, which are actually for his cape. His cape is a very soft, thin fabric. And the cape is actually gigantic. Let me just go back to the figure here really quick and I'll show you what I'm talking about. See how much that opens up? And there's no wires in it like you see with many of the other capes. So you cannot pose the cape if you put them in a flying pose. And that's what these wires are for, as well as this accessory that connects to the stand. He has extra hands. There's a pair of gripping hands for holding things. And I think it's interesting that he has sort of tactical gloves on, like he needs them. Grasping hands, again with a very tactical look to them. And flying hands. Flying hands. And on the figure is a pair of fists for pounding bad guys. There's your Mezco 112 collective Ziploc bag that so many collectors really like. And the arm. The arm for posing. And of course the stand that he is standing on. Same complaint I have with a lot of the Mezco figures with the stand. The foot peg, because there is a hole in the bottom of both heels for standing on the peg on the stand, and it does not fit very well. That is a common problem with these. So let me go ahead and take him off here, and we'll have a closer look at his articulation. Now another reason why it's not that original is because Saturday Night Live, SNL, already did it. They actually did it with a German version of Superman. I don't remember when specifically that was done, what year it was. Get the shoulder articulation there. The shoulders are really loose. When I did the Michael Myers, the last one that I did, the last review I did, the shoulders were so tight I thought I was going to break the figure. Elbow articulation and rotation looks really good. Anyway, the SNL version was called Ubermen, and it was Klaus Kent. Klaus Kent. Wrist rotation is pretty good. This one feels a little tighter than the other one, but it's not bad. The head rotation is a little stiff. Not much movement going up and down. Well, that's not too bad actually. You see also there's a much larger frame to this figure than the traditional figure to show off his musculature. He's a lot thicker than the average figure. His waist pivot is pretty good, even side to side. Lots of points of articulation on these figures, usually around 32. This is a sticker. I don't know how I feel about that. I would prefer that it was something that was attached as opposed to it being a sticker placed on the fabric. It's got a belt that is attached, a rubberized portion here around the crotch area. Hip articulation is very loose and flexible. That's pretty decent. You can see the quadriceps are pretty thick too. Knee movement looks good. Rotation. A lot of movement on the ankles as well. Pivot and turning up and down. Everything looks really good. Really free flowing movement on this one. Not as stiff as I have found it with some of the other figures. So we're going to go ahead and get him into a pose and see how he looks.
It's a bird! It's a plane! It's...
Back with this really quickly. Now I'm started to do something here, but I've run into a problem, and so I'm going to stop and I'm going to do something entirely different. And the reason that I wanted to show this, you see I don't even have his hand on there. The hands go on and off rather easily, by the way. But the problem comes with the apparatus for the capes. These cables are about as awkward as they look. As you can see, it's unattractive because you got these big bulky clips that are just sort of hanging out there. You're supposed to clip them inside the cape, but there's no way to do that without them being noticeable. You've got all this stuff going on under the cape. It keeps sliding out. It won't stay centered. And the cables are just really awkward. And I understand what they were trying to do because there are no wires in the cape. So they were trying to come up with a way to do it, to have a flow to the cape for flying poses and things like that. But this just doesn't work. It doesn't work. I don't like the way that it goes together. I don't like the way that it sticks out. I'm not liking these cable clips at all. I think this was a bad design. So I'm going to go ahead and get him out of that and do something else with the figure. I just wanted to really point that out because, you know, there's always going to be something. Nothing is absolutely perfect, but this whole cable thing for the cape is just a really bad design.
You can choose from more than one.
And here we are again, our Russian Superman having defeated some of the best that the West had to offer. They did not fare too well against the Man of Steel. Neither did Brainiac. Overall, the look of the figure is really excellent. And you know, I would like to see a Batman. There was a Batman in this series. I would like to see the Russian version of Batman. The colors blend together really well. I like the look of the figure. I like him with the flag, the stern look on his face. I would have liked to see maybe an extra head that had heat vision eyes. That would have been nice. One thing about the flag is that it can only really be displayed one way because the flag is one-sided. They only put the hammer and sickle image on one side of the flag, and I think that was a mistake. I think it would have been better if they had put it on both sides of the flag. I think it would have been fairly simple for them to do that, and that way you could display the flag on either side, so it didn't matter which way it draped, you would still see that hammer and sickle. The flagpole itself, if you get this figure, be very careful with it. It is very thin. It is made out of a very thin material, and I would be worried about it snapping. And that's something that you used to see with G.I. Joe. Back in the 60s, they had the flags of the various branches of the military set, and you often see those broken, even inside the package. I know it's from all the way back in the 60s, but even then, they were easily broken. I like the way that his cape drapes. It looks good hanging down on him. It's a shame I can't do much else with it because, as I had pointed out before, this is an enormous cape. When you open it all the way up, it is huge, and it would be nice to get that in a flowing look if he was flying. But these things are a pain in the butt to work with, and I mean, even the position of this where it clips onto the stand, which if you haven't seen these extensions, they go right there. So it's like right on top of him. No matter how you position this, this is going to stick out. I suppose you could put it underneath and then have the cables coming up, but it just feels really awkward, and then you can see the clips sticking out, and it just doesn't look right. It doesn't look right, and it's hard to work with. I think that was a poor design choice. I would have even rather have seen, if they were going to go with that kind of an effect, a thicker cape that had a wire in it than this really thin cape. Although the way that it looks when it just kind of hangs on him, it works really well. Maybe they could have even considered having a removable cape and giving you two capes. One that can just drape on him and one with wires in it for when he's flying. I think that would have worked. This one, despite the couple of flaws there, is a very popular figure. A lot of people would love to have this one in their collection. Would you love to have this one in your collection? Is this one that you would really like to have? This USSR stylized alternate reality Superman? Tell me what you think in the comments section down below. What do you think of this figure? Or if you're into the Mezco 112 collective, what figures do you have or would you like to get? What's your A-list figure? What's on your Grail list for 112 collective action figures? Tell me about it in the comments section down below. I'm really into the Mezco figures. I like their designs. I like the quality of the figure, and as I've said many times while doing these reviews, it's a great alternative to if you are not able to afford to jump off into, say, 1/6 scale collecting. Typically the Mezco figures run around $80, and that's not a bad middle of the road sort of high-end collecting price when you consider that a 1/6 scale figure is probably going to run you $200 to $300 a piece. So again, what do you think? Do you like this figure? Is this one that you would want? Do you have others? Are you into the Mezco 112 collective, or are you thinking about it? Tell me about it in the comments section down below. Please do give the video a thumbs up if you got something out of the video. I hope that you did. Subscribe and check out some of our other videos. I do a lot more than just reviews. I have many reviews, a lot of Mezco reviews, but I also do a lot of other reviews and a lot of other things on this channel. Comic book related, television and movie related, weekly roundups, a lot of things that my wife and I do, unboxings, so on and so forth. So take a look around. You may find some things that you find interesting. I hope that you do. Find me on Instagram, Open by Chance on Instagram and Facebook. And I hope to see you again soon. Thanks for watching.
In the endless reaches of the universe, there once existed a planet known as Krypton, a planet that burned like a green star in the distant heavens. There, civilization was far advanced and had brought forth a race of supermen whose mental and physical powers were developed to the absolute peak of human perfection. But there came a day when giant quakes threatened to destroy Krypton forever. One of the planet's leading scientists, sensing the approach of doom, placed his infant son in a small rocket ship and sent it hurtling in the direction of the Earth just as Krypton exploded.